After this winter we have just had, you may have noticed some of your trees might be in a little bit of problem. I'm with Terry from Teragan and Associates, and he is a certified arboriculturist.
Right, actually a board certified master arborist and certified tree risk assessor.
Well, great, recessor. Well, you know, this tree at this homeowner, it's leaning after this kind of bad winter, and what should we do if we see this kind of thing happening?
Well, when you have a tree that's small enough, and this certainly fits into that category up to about 15, 20 feet, you can actually pull it back in the vertical position and then guy it.
Okay.
And so if you're going to guy a tree like this, you know, one way to test to see if it's small enough is just kind of gently lean back.
Okay.
And then you want to get it in the vertical position, and you want to guy it back to the ground using a cable opposite the direction of the tree is leaning.
Okay.
And you don't want to necessarily put a wire around the trunk of the tree. Some people used to put hose over the wire. I think that would help.
Oh,
it really doesn't. It still exerts a lot of pressure on the cambium and can actually girdle it. So you want to get a nice wide cloth or black horticultural tie to wrap around the trunk of the tree and use that to attach the cable down to a ground stake.
Okay, and we want to do just one of those, or do we want to do multiples?
We want to do at least 3, because one in the direction opposite the lean, and then the 2 others about 120 degrees from that on either side. And that'll help keep it stable so that if the wind does come in from the other direction, it doesn't just go back over on the opposite direction.
Okay, and cabling, I've heard of cabling before.
Cabling is for supporting crotches in the upper crown of the tree that might be weak or starting to crack, and that's actually applies to the above ground portion of the tree. We don't tie it back to the ground, we tie it back to other leaders within the tree.
Well, I know homeowners have some other problems that might be going on in their yard, and we're going to go see some of those next.
Okay.
Let's go look at that.
Great, Judy.
Now, Terry, we have a big tree behind us, and this yard is filled with big trees, and, you know, I can maybe just stand on this shed and take these branches down?
Well, I don't know if I'd recommend that. You know, these larger trees are more difficult and much more dangerous to deal with. And so I always recommend hiring a professional certified arborist to deal with the problems in trimming that you might have to do on these large trees.
Yeah, so what would they be looking for when they're going to take these things down?
Well, if we look at this Douglas fir behind us, there's a lot of limbs on the lower part of the tree that are dead. You've also got some limbs with brown needles that basically probably are branches that broke this past winter with the winter snows we had around Christmas time. It's a good idea to get those out of the tree. And then any branches that are crossing or rubbing against each other, thin those out. We used to do a lot of wind sail reduction to allow the wind to kind of pass through the trees. We've found that that really doesn't help.
Oh, okay.
That you're actually better off just pruning the tree for health, doing what we call a crown clean, and if you take care of the tree properly, it'll take care of itself for you.
Now, what about limbing them up? There's some rules about that when we're looking at that?
There really is. If you need to limb it up to get some clearance or some views, you don't want to lift it more than 1/3 of the overall tree height.
Okay. Yeah, that might make some other problems go on.
Right, exactly. You might get a little too top heavy. The trunk where the limbs are attached doesn't increase in taper, so it's not as stable if you lift it up too high.
Okay, then if we're looking for someone to come out and do that, is there some guidelines when we're hiring people?
Well, certainly look for the ISA certified arborist or other professional affiliations like Tree Care Industry of America. Also, you want to be asking questions about how they're going to do the job. How are they going to climb this 80, 100-foot tree safely?
Right.
And so there are companies that only use rope and saddles on any trees that they prune. They do not use the spurs or the spikes that the loggers used to use.
Sure.
If a company's going to come in and say they want to use spikes on a tree that they're removing, that's fine.
Right.
But if they're going to prune the tree, you want to prune it for health. Spiking a tree does not increase its health.
Oh, sure. So it's just going to do more damage.
Right.
And what about watering in the summer, native versus non-native trees?
Well, in Oregon, the native trees, like the Douglas fir, are going to be fine with the dry summers that we have. They're used to it. They've developed over eons.
Sure.
So they're fine. But the exotic trees that we are planting in our landscapes, they are probably going to need a little bit more summer irrigation because they come from parts of the country or parts of the world that get summer rainfall.
Ah, okay.
So they are going to need a little bit more irrigation.
Right. So it's really, as homeowners, we need to know our trees, know what's going on with them, take care of them, make them the healthiest they are, but call in professionals every several years or so just to kind of watch and kind of just assess the health of them.
Right. Assess the health, assess their stability, just see what's going on. And quite frankly, most homeowners don't really know their trees that well to be able to tell what type they are. It's not a bad idea to get a health professional in to tell you exactly what type of species it is.
Well, that is so great, so much information. So please call Teragan Associates and they can come out, assess your trees, and then also you would have to follow up with that with some care.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy.